Okay, we are live. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and potential Toastmasters. Welcome to the show, Wake Up with Toastmasters. I am your District 115 Club Growth Director, Ken Richardson. And with me today is my lovely host, past District Governor, distinguished Toastmaster, Phyllis Tribby. Good morning, Phyllis. How you doing?
Good morning, Ken, and good morning to our public. I am great. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm really good because I think we're getting beyond the cold spell. I was looking at the forecast, and I get up early every morning, and we're going to be in the low 60s for the rest of this week, and that's making me very, very happy. So I'm not going to complain at all. I like to have a little bit more. That's why I live here, or one of the reasons. One of the many reasons I live in Vegas is because the weather in the wintertime is pretty moderate. And I don't have to shovel snow. So
those are excellent reasons. My choice also. And having to walk the dog when it is in the 30s is not a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I know you are from Indianapolis, as is my brother. My brother lives in Indianapolis, and I'd always like to check the weather there so that I can gloat just a little bit. But last week or so, it's been warmer in Indianapolis than here, but not today. I saw the paper this morning. It was like 19 is the high in Indianapolis. So I can gloat just a little bit that we're going to be up to 60. Anyway, today I thought about Zoom. I've been thinking about Zoom lately because we have a real mixture in the district of folks who are online only, and then other folks. We have one or two who are in person only, not many. And then we have those who are hybrid. So everybody still has to deal with Zoom in some way or another. For example, I attend my early risers meeting. It's online only on Wednesdays on Zoom. We have a meeting of the trio every Monday night on Zoom. And we do Wake Up with Toastmasters on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Zoom. So there's a lot of Zoom fatigue going around. And the challenge for us today is to identify some of those issues and to talk about ways that we can deal with and perhaps eliminate Zoom fatigue. And I don't want our viewers to think that I am anti-Zoom. I'm not. I think Zoom has its place, and I like using it for certain things. But it can get tedious and tiresome over time. And I always enjoy having a face-to-face meeting where, we can actually shake hands or bump elbows, whatever the case may be. So I do have a PowerPoint.
PowerPoint 10, that's your
name. My gosh, I tell you, I think I'd be so lost without it. I got in the habit, I used to teach it at UNLV after I retired the first time. And my classes were 3 hours long.
Oh, God.
Yeah, exactly. So, breaks every hour and that kind of thing. But I always had to have my PowerPoint to sort of keep me focused and keep me on track, because otherwise, you could go off on all these tangents, and it still happens every once in a while. So I just got in the habit of creating a PowerPoint for almost everything. So let me bring this up. Let's see here if I can get it to work. That's the other thing. Oh, there it is. Yeah. All right. Clever title here. Dealing with Zoom fatigue, tips and tricks. And hopefully our viewers will send us a note, come join us, and tell us some things that we may have missed. There's a whole host of things that you can do to deal with Zoom fatigue, and we would just focus on part of that universe. And I'd love it if we could have some of our fellow Toastmasters send us a note and say, hey, here's what we do to deal with Zoom fatigue. So first, let's talk about Zoom fatigue. Zoom is a wonderful tool. I'm the first one to be an advocate of it, but it has certain disadvantages. For one thing, all that screen time may be hazardous. Yeah, can you see?
Do you have this little white square here? Scan now, share. I can't get it off my screen.
No, I don't have that.
So you think it's mine, huh?
I think so. Do you want me back out of this so you can share your screen for a moment? And I'll
Yeah.
see. All
Hang
right, let
on,
me
let's
stop
see.
sharing. That's the other problem with Zoom
Yeah,
is
there
technical
it
difficulty.
is. And there. Okay, it's gone. It was I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It was
You know,
me.
one of the things that we learn about with all this technology is how to fix things quickly and on the run, on the fly.
There, that's much better. I can see the whole screen now.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we're talking about what a wonderful tool Zoom is, but it does have the downside. First of all, is all that screen time can be hazardous to your mental health. And I know that you and others have seen all of these studies that talk about how much time our children are spending watching either a computer screen or a television screen, and they're on YouTube or Facebook or what have you, and they're spending way too much time. And that in and of itself can be a little bit of a challenge to your mental health. So that's one of the downsides. Another one is you may forget entirely how to socialize. I think that would really be bad, and then start to exhibit antisocial behavior. And you may wear out several pairs of pajamas.
Mhm.
In fact, those two go together because I'm not going to stand up because I'm wearing my pajama bottoms. And I know for a lot of meetings, pajamas are the in things. In fact, that's one of the things that might be a fun tip is to have a pajama party on Zoom and everybody wear their best pajamas and then take a vote as to who has the best pajamas or can tell the best story about their pajamas. So one of the things I worry about is maybe going out in my pajamas. I've become so fond of them because they're absolutely comfortable, warm and fuzzy at this time of year. I'm worried about wearing them out because I do put them on so often and I may have to get another pair. Another downside is your dog, your cat, your spouse may decide that they have had enough and deliver some sort of ultimatum that says, hey, look, it's either Zoom or me. You pick. Now, that's a decision I don't want to have to make. I love my spouse. I love my dog. But you may notice sometimes, Phyllis, that my dog comes in and I'll just kind of glance down. She comes into the study where I am and she will nudge me. She wants to be petted. So I'll just kind of silently put my hand down and pet her. So she clearly has had enough. She wants to go for a walk. So those are some of the downsides. What are some of the things that we can do about it? Well, look at this very busy slide. Now, as someone who makes a lot of PowerPoints, I would never recommend that you put this many graphics on a slide. It's too distracting and too busy. I did it anyway because I wanted to emphasize the point that you can shake up your meetings and that will help deal with Zoom fatigue. Do something very different or something unexpected. Yeah, you see, for example, here, there's a picture of Bill Murray and a groundhog from the movie Groundhog Day. Pick a movie day for your meetings or pick a special day like National Hot Dog Day. That's coming up. We need to be ready for it. Or one of my favorites is National Donut Day. Consider these themes and determine who can make the best virtual background. Now, a lot of our members have not yet explored virtual backgrounds. Now, I know you have a bit there, Phyllis. I can see you have integrated completely the default background for Wake Up with Toastmasters, and we want to thank Gene Dunford for that. He's the one who found this, put it together, and distributed it. But I have made, on occasion, my own virtual backgrounds. And if you don't know how to do it, it's really quite simple. Perhaps the best example is that we received, or there's a download, I think it's a download from Toastmasters International. It's a PowerPoint presentation, and it has different backgrounds like, and logos for Toastmasters. that you can actually customize and make your own and then upload them to Zoom. Now, the way you do that is once you've finished your customization, then you save that, but you don't save it as a PowerPoint. And that's where people get a little confused. When you save it, you have to change the format to something like a PNG file or a JPEG file. Then you can upload it easily into Zoom on the virtual background menu. And that would be a really fun way to shake up your meeting, is to have a contest as to who can make the best virtual background consistent with whatever the meeting theme is. If it's Valentine's Day, you might want to take this picture that I have here and make a virtual background of that. So that's another way that you can shake up your meetings. Have you spent much time exploring that option, Phyllis?
I was just going to interject here. Where do we find that on the international website? Because it sounds like a great thing to have, and I've never heard of it before.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't remember exactly where I found it, but if any of our viewers are interested in it, I would be happy to send them the blank template. Just send me an email, d115cgd @gmail.com, and I will be happy to share with you that template. I'll send it to you, Phyllis, and you can explore. And if you have problems, let me know, and I'll go through. And maybe we'll do that at another session, is we'll go through how to create your own virtual backgrounds, because it really is much easier than you might think. Like I said, I'm a PowerPoint fanatic, so to speak. So I like using PowerPoint. Let's look at some other things you can do to eliminate or deal with Zoom fatigue. Have a scavenger hunt instead of table topics. And you're probably wondering, well, how does that work? Well, if I'm the topics master or the scavenger hunt master, or whatever you want to call it, I will say to everybody in the room, okay, who can find in 5 seconds or 10 seconds or less a measuring cup or a ruler or a cowboy hat, whatever the item might be. And then when they show it on the screen, whoever shows it first, they get the point. And then once you end the scavenger hunt with 5, 6 items, depending on how much time you want to spend, you can award a prize to whoever had the largest number of items that you ask for. Another thing that you can do is hold an impromptu speech contest, sort of like a table topics contest that I was thinking about here, where the Toastmaster will give different topics, and you don't know what they are, and you have to give an impromptu 5-minute speech on the topic presented to you. So I might come in and say, Phyllis, tell me, if we're talking about, let's say our theme is Valentine's Day. Tell me, Phyllis, in 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, what does Valentine's Day mean to you? So I will pick the topic and assign someone randomly, and that will be our speech contest. And then ever how many speakers we have, at the end, we'll vote on who was best. You have any thoughts on this, Phyllis? Have you ever done something like that in your meetings?
Well, we're not calling it a speech contest exactly, but we're doing something similar. And that is to challenge people, the members. We'll give them a topic to write a speech on. I was given to write a speech on my travels, but I must put something in it that is untrue and made up. And so then I would give that particular speech, adding to it things that didn't really happen. And of course, most of my speeches like that are, humorous. I like to add a lot of humor to my speeches. So that makes it more fun. Another thing with impromptu speeches, it was a challenge to give a speech wearing a hat. And so Guy had a hat, called it a derby, that was from his uncle. True or not, I don't know. But anyway, he wore the hat and talked about the hat all during his speech. So the next week, then I wore a hat and I talked all about it. And it was something that my sister had made. The one that you make, I think it was out of cans. I'm not real sure. So that, no matter where she was at, always a mile ahead of me, of course, because I'm slower than her, I could find her and know that she was still with the group. So that was some things that we did that fun and interesting to listen to.
Well, I apologize. I was looking to the side here. I'm on, as most of our viewers know, I have a separate computer monitoring our Facebook feed, and we're getting a lot of comments here. I appreciate that. One commenter said, I never thought of doing a contest like that. There's a request for the link. Others have had the scavenger hunt as part of their meeting, but other things like the impromptu speech contest is something that maybe is a new idea for one of our viewers here. You said something that made me also think of the concept of two truths and a lie. Have you ever played that game?
No.
Okay, well, the way it works is I might pick a topic, and like you were talking about your travels and something had to be untrue. And I'll ask you to give a 2-minute topic on that contains two truths about Phyllis and one lie. And then the rest of us can decide which one is the lie.
Oh, that might be fun. Yeah.
That's a fun one. That's something that I think that our program quality director, Jean, has used as well on game night. So it's a pretty good thing. All righty, let's move on here for a moment. These are some great ideas. I like these ideas coming in. Very good. Here's another one. Have a costume party. This, and people think, oh, wait a minute, we're having a costume party on Zoom? Yes. This is a snapshot of the storytellers had a costume party that I was fortunate enough to attend. This was back at Halloween. And you can see that even on Zoom, you can have a party. You can have a costume party. Everybody dresses up and then votes for who had best costume. And as we talked earlier, have a pajama party and vote for who has the best pajamas. So there are a lot of ways that you can deal with Zoom fatigue quite easily. And the other one that I love that we touched on is have a contest about who can make the best virtual background.
See, there are a lot of great ones on this screen here.
Aren't there? I'll tell you what, there are just some terrific costumes that people made. And you also mentioned you had to give a talk wearing a hat. And the queen of hats, as you know, is Diane Hunter. She has a hat collection that it just must be astonishing. I suspect she has an entire room devoted just to hats. And the other one who does that is Joseph Skoda, who's the immediate past district director in District 33. Joe has a hat collection that is pretty astonishing. Every time I see him, and I've had the pleasure of having him, he's been on Wake Up with Toastmasters. I've attended some of their meetings online. And every time I see him, he has a different hat. So that's he and Diane are very much simpatico, if you will. So you can have a hat contest, or if you have a themed meeting, you could have who comes up with the best hat, and you can do a lot of homemade hats, believe it or not. I know Diane does this all the time in creating homemade hats. So have a party. Make your meetings fun, and that will help eliminate some of that Zoom fatigue. A lot of people think, well, we have to be rigid. We have to stay right where we are. We have to do A, B, C, D in this order. No, you don't. You can mix it up. You can have fun. You can do different things. Our founder, Ralph Smedley, said we learn best when we're having times of fun or something like that. And that's absolutely true. Oh, here's a couple of things I want to share with our viewers. March Madness playoff. Oh, that's a great idea with a round of secrets. You have like a speak off. That sounds great. The Blarney Club wonder where that is, has held a meeting in which 5 speakers were each given a speech title by their evaluator. Oh, I like that. Each speaker had 5 minutes outside the meeting room to prepare a 5 to 7 minute speech. That's a good idea. I really love table topics, and I love the impromptu portion of what we do in Toastmasters, because it really forces you to think on your feet and to come up with something on the spur of the moment. I think that's terrific. So thanks to Matthew and Paul for your comments. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's look at some more options. Now here I sort of laid it out in 3 different categories. First of all, when you think about speakers, invite guest speakers. Now, my home club yesterday, I'm in Early Risers, which meets every Wednesday at 6:30 a.m. I know it's early, but we have a great time. We had a speaker from Georgia, and this is a gentleman. His name is Taylor Duncan, and he's done TED Talks and what have you. He is autistic. He's on the autism spectrum, and he told us his story about growing up where the schools where he attended didn't quite know what to do with him. And he eventually was homeschooled by his mom, and she was his mentor. It was a great speech, and he went on because he wanted to play athletics, particularly baseball, and he couldn't because there were no accommodations, and no one would let him because of his autism. So he created a special league for people who may be on the spectrum or who have other disabilities. It was fantastic. So invite guest speakers, and you can get guest speakers just from other Toastmasters. Invite Phyllis to come talk at your club to be a guest speaker. Invite me, I'll come. I'll be happy to come talk at your club. The other thing that I like to do is to review and evaluate famous speeches. I like to learn from famous speeches. John Kennedy's inaugural address, for example. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. You can find amazing number of these speeches on video on YouTube. So if you search YouTube for MLK speeches or for JFK speeches or Mahatma Gandhi, whomever, you can find old clips, and you can use those and evaluate those speeches and learn from them as a group in your clubs. The other thing I like to do is to call up the world champions from the past several years. And again, you can find this on YouTube. Just Google world champion of public speaking or Toastmaster speakers or something along those lines, and it will come up with the past several years of first, second, and third place winners in the world championship. You can play those. They're all 5 to 7 minutes or so. You can play those online and then evaluate them and learn from them. What are the key points? How is the speech organized? I remember listening to a presentation by Darren LaCroix. This has been a couple of years ago. As you know, Darren won the world championship several years ago. And he said to me and to the group that the best thing you can do if you're getting ready to compete for the world championship is to make sure you use a lot of humor, because humor is what attracts, positive results and a positive response in people. So I've never forgotten that, and I use it all the time. Let's see.
This would be like what we call a round robin. So it wouldn't just be one person evaluating. Everyone in your group would have a chance to evaluate, say 2 to 3 minutes per person. It might take longer. It might take up your table topics time, but I think it's well worth the effort to everybody gets a chance to do the evaluations.
You're absolutely right, because everyone will take away something a little bit different. And this may be one of those meetings where you plan not to have table topics at all. As if it's sort of like if you were doing a speechathon, yeah, which some clubs do, only you're doing it based on some, well-recognized speeches, either famous people or past champions. And I like that idea. You're absolutely right. Give everyone a chance. Make it a round robin kind of event. And then everyone gets a chance to say, well, here's what I liked. Here's what I thought could stand some improvement. Another idea has to do in another category is with the structure of the meeting. Hold a debate, for example. And one of the ideas that we talked about in my club was the Toastmaster would put ideas in a hat and then put people's names in a hat. And then he or she would pick a topic, like say like legalization of marijuana. Of course, that's happened, but that might have been something. And then in the other hat, you pick out, okay, Sally, you are going to present the pro position on this topic. And then another name, Darren, you're going to present the con. So this is totally spontaneous and impromptu. And, we've had situations where, well, I want to be pro. Well, no, your assignment is con. So even though you personally may be in favor of the topic at hand, your challenge, your stretch goal, if you will, is to present a position, defend a position that you would not normally take. So that's hold a debate. That's a great way to shake up and make your Zoom meetings less burdensome sometimes. Let's see.
There again, at holding a debate, it's involving all of your membership, and you may have to give up some other things, as say like table topics, because everybody is in the debate. So there could be two people on each side, and the debate master, and then rebuttal from the audience.
Absolutely. There are so many ways that you could arrange this that the possibilities are infinite. And I guarantee if you use some of the ideas we've talked about here today, you will eliminate a lot of Zoom fatigue and make your meetings more intriguing, more interesting. Let's see here. Very good.
Ken, you need to speak when you're sitting up, not when you're bending over.
I'm terribly sorry.
That's okay.
Paul tells me in the online chat, there's a club that it's in London. They are debaters. Ooh, I like that. Absolutely, Paul. I'm going to get in touch. Thank you for sharing. That looks intriguing. So I'm definitely going to be getting in touch with you, Paul. I appreciate that. Another thing that you can do in terms of the structure of the meeting is to make random role assignments. I don't know if you've ever done this, but when we met in person, the Toastmaster would have envelopes filled with the role. Like, okay, I'm going to hand this to Phyllis. You are the topics master today. I'm going to hand this to so-and-so. You are the president, whoever might do this, the VPE. You are a speaker. So you don't know what role you're going to have, but you're going to get an assignment, and it's not going to be something that you will have in advance. That's another way. I know some people have heart attack when they think about that, but it's a great way.
Be prepared for everything.
Exactly, it's a great way to shake up your meeting and to help you. I mean, that is learning a terrific skill, is being able to respond that way, and that's a very, very helpful skill. Another thing that's helpful to reduce Zoom fatigue is to hold joint meetings with other clubs. For example, I know that you have a club, Phyllis, Toastmasters, that meets at 7:30. I have a club on Wednesdays that meets at 6:30. Maybe we could meet in the middle somewhere and hold a joint meeting. And that way we get an opportunity to experience a different environment on Zoom. I think that's incredibly helpful. Very good. Now, I also want to go back. I need to work out this darn speaker situation, but there are clubs in Japan and California. This is coming from Paul in London that also specialize in debating. And Paul is hoping to charter Toastmasters for debate this year. Awesome. Well done, Paul. That is a great idea. So anyway, we were talking about structuring your meetings. And finally, I want to talk about getting creative. brainstorm new ideas. Just have a meeting or part of a meeting. Maybe it's a supplemental meeting to brainstorm new ideas. Search the internet for ideas and search YouTube for ideas. The important thing is to never surrender to Zoom fatigue, never give up. You can. I know that all of our Toastmasters are intelligent, creative people, and you can overcome Zoom fatigue with just a little bit of effort and creativity. So I'm going to stop this. We are almost out of time.
Oh, bye.
Yeah, it really went by quite fast. Do you have any comments or anything, Phyllis, for wrap up?
Well, I would say, I don't think you can see my little container here, but it's eye drops. I use eye drops all the time here at the screen. The eyes do get tired, and that's just how it is. So I always have those available. And the next thing is never get too strict. Make everything as light as possible. You can give somebody feedback and ask them to change different things, but you can make it light. And I think that's real important in Zoom, that we get lighthearted. And like you say, have enjoyment in doing Toastmasters.
I agree 100%. You know, rigidity is a good way to make your meetings awful.
Don't be too strict with the whole thing.
Exactly. If you are too strict or too rigid, your members are not going to be happy, and guests who come in are not going to be, incentivized to come back. So anyway, I want to thank everyone. What does PDQ stand for? It should be PQD, Program Quality Director. That's a question that came from Paul. Okay, very good. I hope that answers. It should be PQD. How did I get
Maybe
that?
we ought to invite Paul to be our guest on Tuesday.
Oh, absolutely, Paul. We'd love to have you come on and talk about your specialization in debate, Toastmasters for Debate, that you're creating. Shoot me an email, if you will. And I think I've got you put your email address in our chat box. So I will contact you, but send me an email at d115cgd@gmail.com, and we'll connect. We'd love to have you as a guest on Wake Up with Toastmasters. And anyone else who's interested in being a guest, you are welcome. So get in touch and we will get you scheduled. We are running just a little bit over, and I do want to make an announcement to remind our viewers that this Saturday, January 8th, is our TLI. We are doing a little bit different this year. This is, we're coming out somewhat from our isolation. We're going to have both an in-person meeting, and that's on January 8th at 9 a.m. Again, email me for locations and all of that information, or check our website, d115tm.org. And then we're going to do one online for those folks who would rather still meet online in Zoom. And that's going to be January 24th at 6 p.m. Any of this information that you need, please feel free to get in touch. All right, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank everyone. Remember, Jean Dunford and Jean Williams, our Program Quality Director, will be here tomorrow. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.